In Sylvania, the dead rise again. The vampire counts march forth.
Hello and welcome to another Total War Warhammer guide. Today we begin our trek through the armies of the vampire counts, the undead, the ugly skeleton blokes of the Warhammer world. In the actual tabletop game there's various, well there used to be before the Age of Sigmar bollocks that went through, there used to be, my favourite army was actually the Tomb King's army, which was another undead army similar to this, but it used to have like a sort of Egyptian aesthetic to it. I really loved it. But not in the game, sadly. But maybe in an expansion, slim hope. But first we're going to look at the Necromancer and the Necromancer Master. So there's only very slight changes between the two. These are the two sort of main spellcasters of the army that aren't legendary heroes. So we'll just have a look at the attribute differences between the two and also the spell differences. So obviously they're both spellcasters. The Master has a few more hit points, basically a slight upgrade on anything. 11 more leadership, melee attack is 5 more, defense is 8 more, other than that, the same. So, they pretty much got the same spell, all except for one, I think, yeah. So, we'll go through their abilities. The models look pretty cool. The Master's just got a bit more flair on his capey thing. Right, so They are missile resistant, as all single characters are. They cause fear because, Jesus Christ, it's a skeleton casting magic zombie dude. Not nice to face. They also, because they're leaders of the army, they also encourage or boost to leadership. They can also hide in a forest. They're undead. Now, I'll go through this more in detail when we talk about units, but basically, because they're undead, they don't run away because they have no fear, so they don't run away from a combat. But once their leadership drops below a certain level, they suffer from attrition, meaning that their units start to crumble, and they will just start. So if you're losing a fight, if you're losing a one-on-one unit fight, your units will start crumbling and start dying more quickly than they are just from the combat itself. So it does. It's got its good and bad sides to it. Its good side is you can have a tiny unit and it's going to still be in combat. It's not going to run away. But it does mean if you're losing the combat by a decent margin, your unit is going to get destroyed pretty quickly. So first off is Crumbling, and that means basically this goes along with its undead nature, and it's when its leadership is above 0, battle outcome decided, it starts to crumble. So it loses hit points over time. If your army's running away and stuff, it crumbles. It's not pretty. It's not nice to look at. But we'll go through more about Crumbling and all that sort of thing when we talk about the sort of bigger units. First spell is called Master of the Dead, and it instantly affects targets in an area. It's constant, so it's a passive that always happens, and it's on itself and any friendly units within 30 metres, and it basically replenishes their hit points. So they keep coming back to the life. Think of it as sort of raising skeletons from the dead and stuff like that. So really useful to have in battle. That's a really nice spell. Next up, we've got the Curse of the Undead. It's another passive around the self, and disabled if leadership is broken. Pretty much with all these spells, that's what happens, and it's map wide, and it basically greatly replenishes hit points of combatants, resurrects dead combatants, and heals injured before resurrecting. That's the order in which it does it. So again, just really good to help your units keep in the fight and from crumbling away into nothingness. Then we've got Disintegrating. So this is a sort of extreme version of the Crumbling, excuse me. And it's a passive. Leadership is above, disabled if your leadership is above 0, above shattered, battle outcome decided. Okay, so it causes severe damage to self. Again, just the way you're crumbling. If you're losing, you crumble. Basically, think of it that way. Next up, we've got Curse of Years, which is their first sort of proper hex spell. It's an instant effect, which is really nice, and it lasts for 22 seconds, and you can target on the ground or an enemy unit, and it's got a 200 meter range, and it's basically a big debuff. So it also affects units within 30 meters of that bit. So it's minus 34 melee attack, minus 24 speed, and plus 15 ability recharge. So that's really good against units that have abilities or heroes, but also just against any units, because that minus 24 speed is really nice, especially if that, like, those Reiksguard Knights are really pissing you off and keep running around your army. Slow them down so you can catch them with maybe your cavalry. So, next up we've got the Gaze of Nagash. It's a magic missile, good range, 250 meters. You can cast it at an enemy unit. It causes magic damage and it's strong versus a single combatant, effective at close range, good from high angle. So this is your hero assassination ability. Not much use against units, but you can if you're, desperate and you've got the power to spare. But it is a lot better at closer range, even though it has that decent range on it. Next up, we have the Invocation of Mehek, which is an augment spell cast on an ally unit 200 meters away. Shut up, Loki. Loki, shut up. I'm trying to record a video, you bastard. So it casts on a unit, it resurrects dead combatants, it replenishes hit points, so this speeds up that process. Basically, you're raising an army, especially if that unit is in combat, because you want that big unit of skeletons. And skeletons, although not very good fighters, are great for just clogging up the enemy. You cast this on them, and they will just keep resurrecting. They won't be able to kill them fast enough. And it really bogs down units. So it's really good. Next up, we've got Raise Dead, which is I apologise for my dogs. I think they're postman's here. The next cut is Raise Dead. It's cast on the ground or an ally unit. It's very, very short range. And it can't use if the army is full, obviously. But what it does is it spawns a completely new unit of zombies. So it's absolutely super. And the way it sort of says here is good at defending spellcaster. Like, if your spellcaster's out in the open, it's going to get charged. Bosh, Raise the Dead. Here, the unit of zombies. So that's really fantastic. So you can't use it at the beginning of the battle when your army is completely, if you've got a full stack, you can't go over that. But within a couple of minutes, normally some people have died, and you can start raising zombies. Really, really helpful if you just need that extra unit for a flank charge or as a bodyguard for your Necromancer. Next up, we've got Van Hel's Dance Macabre. Never remembered how to just say that, but it's an augment spell on an ally unit, 200 meters, and it gives them speed and attack. This is really good for some cavalry charges and everything like that, if you need to nip them around, or somebody chasing some cavalry, just to give them some extra speed and damage. Also for units chasing archers and stuff like that, very, very helpful. And lastly, we've got Wind of Death, which is a vortex spell. We've talked about these before. They're great fun to use, but can be a bit unpredictable. You cast on the ground up to 150 meters away. The duration is for 8 seconds. Once it's cast, you choose. It then moves quite randomly for the next 8 seconds. So it's really good because it's got a large area effect, and it's good against like big units of troops, because not only does it do damage and suck people into the vortex, it also just destroys their front line. If they've got a bigger front line marching at yours, you can cast it in the middle there, and they're going to scatter. They're going to have to go round. It can really break up an enemy formation. So that's the Necromancer. We'll go on to the sort of single difference with the Master Necromancer. Where is it? Oh yeah, there. That makes sense. So, this is the difference with what you get with the Masters, as well as obviously the small upgrades, and the Master can get a better mount as well. But this is the Undeath Resurgent, an augment spell. Only acts on targets within an area, so you cast it on yourself and it affects all allies within 40 meters. And basically it gives them a buff for 11 seconds to melee defense, attack, and leadership. So leadership, although not important to stop your units breaking, remember we've got Crumbling, so that'll stop them crumbling so much. So we'll talk about how to use them in battle while we just mess about and try and kill some little Bretonian dudes. Are they going to be hiding? Right, we're going to go up on this hill. We can't go up on this hill, it's impassable terrain. Right, so they're over there somewhere, but we'll wander over. So the way to use these guys is much like I talked about with the Empire Battle Wizards, is that think of them as artillery. They don't have quite so much like direct damage and sort of fancy spells that do the damage, but what they do have is they're more of a support ability in the fact that they can raise troops and they can boost leadership and that sort of stuff. So I tend to have these, especially the Master Necromancer, within sort of close proximity to my main battle force, just behind. I don't really want to get them in combat. They're not fighty characters really. So I would use them just behind as a just behind the front line, casting their spells, casting the augments, stopping your units from crumbling, which is the biggest sort of thing there is. And also, obviously, you've got the ability to raise zombie units as well, just to get an extra sort of benefit. I just a little dit on the map there. Alright, come on, buddies. Come on. I know you're over there. I know you're over there. Oh, hello. Wow. They need to fix this, right? I understand line of sight and everything, but this hill, there is no hill that they've come from. Look at this. How is that possible that I can't see them? I can see my units. I don't understand. So, as we saw, not ideal for my two necromancers. So we were only messing about anyway, so we're going to cast some spells. So I'm going to stick a vortex here. Right there. Why can't I? Okay, we're going to cast it there. Because these guys are coming in for the sort of to try and wrap around. And then we're going to go, what should we need some zombie buddies. So you choose where you want to place the zombies. So you can right, so we'll pause it to see how quickly this takes effect. Here come the zombies. See what I mean? This is kind of a perfect example of this ambush. Is that quickly use a unit of zombies just to help out the Necromancer. They're going to obviously get slaughtered at this stage. It's not gone well. I've lost all my power. It's quite power heavy, these spells of the Necromancer, so you can't. So as you can see, the zombies are wavering, but they're not going to run away. They're just going to die a lot quicker. That's how you see it. So it allowed us to keep in the fight a little bit longer. We've lost one already, but like I said, they're not fighty characters. Do we? Why can't we do that? There we go. I was having a brain fart. So this is when you get caught off guard. And not only for protecting the Necromancer themselves, but when your armies have met and they've got a flanking unit that charges out the trees that you didn't realise. Bosh, unit of zombies, go and hold them up while you finish the rest of the guys off. And the models are spectacular. Nice rotting zombies. Yeah, so everybody's dead. Every single person is dead. Most armies you'll see running away. Not the undead, not the vampire counts. They're just all gone. They're dead. They've crumbled. There you go, guys. There's my mini guides to the Necromancer and the Master Necromancer. Let me know what you think of the Vampire Count magic. Do you find it much use? Do you use the Vortex spell, or do you mainly save your mana for raising zombies and augmenting your own troops, replenishing their units and stuff like that? That's kind of how I'd use them more. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next guide. Bye-bye.